Just make sure I got it.
I'm here with Paul from Ohio Western Bigfoot Researchers. He's got a YouTube channel and a Facebook group, and just looking at all these sticks, it's kind of odd. Out here in Alabama. I was heading through the Alabama area, and one thing led to another. I ended up meeting Mark of
Cedar Creek Bottoms Farmstead Life.
Yeah, I want to make sure I get it right. And I actually am subscribed to you.
Okay, cool.
And long story short, I ended up in a spot where we're at it now, and I was pretty excited to find out that you're familiar with this area and you've had experiences here.
Right.
Just the whole group of these sticks, just those ones there, and just all of it's kind of cool. Gonna do a little exploring out here. We've heard from Mark of Cedar Creek Bottoms Farmstead Life that they've had a lot of experiences out in this area. Hoping to talk to him at some point, do a little video, and he's got some really cool experiences.
We've had several outings here. We had a meet and greet here. I've camped out down here 7, 8, 9, 10 times. I can't remember. Been knowing about this place since 2008, that it had boogers in it. A lot of activity going on. Then another friend of mine that's a researcher started wanting to do some camp outs down here, and we started doing some. Started off, usually about 20 people, and we've always had some good activity, vocals, hearing wood knock.
What is that?
Just crazy sounds, and then we've had people actually get glimpses of stuff, and some of its pictures have been took, and they've been on other people's channels like Woodwalkers and Squatch and Holler. He caught a very good audio, and so a lot of stuff's been caught, down here. And we had a meet and greet in October of 24 down here. A lot of interesting stuff went on, and it's been talked about on some of the other channels. We got 2 dogs having the ball.
All that stuff I was just looking at, and then this is also kind of odd, especially with just that little stick leaned up against it down there, and then it goes through those trees, and then it's like threaded through the needle. It went through those, and then this is kind of odd that it went right through these two. And we're just talking about seeing bark peeled. Could it be something?
But yeah, it's a lot of reports have come from here.
There they are.
One that gets a lot of attention is the hunter found back in the 1980s down here. That was found dismembered. Wasn't bit or nothing like that, just dismembered and heavy bruising. And the coroner's report I seen, if it was for real, because I'm gonna say it, because I don't know if that coroner's report was 100% authentic. And I've told everybody else the same thing. He said unknown animal that killed him. When I've asked some of the locals about it, they said yes, a death did happen here, but they said they was told heart attack. So, but there's other deaths happened down here too. So
Really?
So people's been found in their cars. Of course, they ruled it out as drug overdose or something. So
Wow.
you really don't know.
Definitely cool looking in here.
Yeah.
We've been where we're camping for a day or two, and I've stayed one night and we haven't really explored. I'm kind of looking at these just on the theme we were just looking at. That kind of looks like it's just stuck in the ground, maybe.
There's been several times over there where I go, where I've seen it looks like a small tree that had died, and I'll go over there and try to pick it up, and it comes right out. It's just stuck in the ground, and I thought it was a tree growing.
That's
When
funny.
it died.
I've seen stuff like that too. Here too, it's kind of odd looking.
Yeah.
Cool place.
Abandoned tents down here a lot.
Wow.
We found one. We had an outing about 2 years ago down here in May. I think it was May, or it may have been October. We found a tent that was deserted with the people's stuff still there. Even their personal papers, driver's license, social security, food stamps. We had a guy that was in law enforcement take it and was going to turn it into the Forest Service. Whoever that was either left here in a hurry and left all their stuff here. We don't know. There was no reports of missing people in this area at that time. But food was left, clothes, makeup, their water, their stove, the tent. One thing we did notice about the tent, that the zipper had been ripped out of the tent. Not saying a booger done this, we just don't know. It's just weird to find that. It took the Forest Service like over a month before they finally got the tent and stuff up.
Wow.
So I don't know why it took them so long.
Yeah, Mark told us. He was saying, come check this out down here. People have seen Sasquatch down here.
Well, it's somewhere down here where they found that hunter.
Yeah, there's somebody found down here that was dismembered. That's kind of freaky.
And his arm was pulled off, and his leg was like broke backwards.
Wow.
But on the report, they said it was a wild animal attack.
Yeah. Cool
Yeah.
area.
They always say it was a bear.
Yeah.
What do you think, Wally?
Look at this right here. Kind of like a little X.
Yeah.
There's a lot of activity around this place, even off this property, on the private property. It's been well documented by several people, other researchers. The late Tall Banco, or known also real name Billy White. He passed away a few years ago. He's wrote some books, and he was well known. He had the name of his group was the Reclusive Forest Primate. Back then he used to believe they were flesh and blood, and later on he changed his mind, but he kept the name of the group. Him and the late Mike Mullane of the AlabamaBigfoot.com kind of were buddies. Then they ended up becoming my friends. And Mr. Towle was actually the one that put me on this spot, even though I'm a local and have hunted down in here for years, coon hunting and deer hunting and squirrel hunting. He's the one that actually put me on this place, because he was coming down in here interviewing people that were contacting him, and he went to some private property that's through the woods, maybe about 4 miles from here, and he ended up walking these creeks into here from them people's private property, and he kept finding tracks and
Wow.
here and stuff, and he come to this campground and stayed a few times, and that's when he had stuff happen, and then he told me about it, that this was a very active spot. So I started paying attention to it.
It's definitely seeming like a bit of a pattern, right? Just limbs kind of leaning this way, that way. A couple arches right there. There's one there. One over there.
Yeah, every now and then, when I take him out with me, he usually wanders out ahead of me and wanders off to either side. But every now and then, for whatever reason, he'll come up and he'll just like be right up against my leg, walking
Really?
for a while.
It makes you wonder.
Yeah, I always wonder when he does that. Because usually he's not right by me, he's just wandering around checking stuff out.
Are you filming right now?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. This is cool looking out here. It's just definitely thinking there's a bit of an unnatural look to a lot of this.
So this is one place that I've watched, and then of course I have my own research place, which is Creepy Mountain. And a lot of people know it by finding Bigfoot back in 2013 when a thermal was caught up there that they came to look at. And but that's my main research area. It's 12 miles from here, and it's in fact right there at my home. I live 2.5 miles from it. So
Oh wow.
yeah, there's boogers there. They come to my property. I found footprints. My wife's had some stuff happen with her at nighttime while I'd be at work. We had some solar lights on each corner of the house that has a button that you turn them off and on. Kept finding them turned off. And you have to get up on a ladder to get to them. And I just reached, put my ladder and reach back up there and turn them on. They go to working.
That could be like a tornado, possibly, right?
Yeah.
Something.
Or a big, it must have been a big major wind gust to do all that.
That's a lot all in one spot there.
There's some theories that when you see that,
Yeah.
that they do that to funnel deer into a spot where they can catch them.
Sasquatch.
Where
Yeah.
they're running from them and they get to a spot like that and all of a sudden they're stuck.
Yeah, I've heard something like some people see like a grid on the ground when there's a whole bunch. There's a nice bend right here too.
Yeah.
I have heard people argue that
Choke point is what they call it.
that it could be handiwork. Look at that thing.
We found a big thumbprint. Our house doesn't have a central air and heat. It's an older home, and it just has some window units in it. And so there at our bedroom, there's a window unit. And one day my wife said, "Hey, you might want to look at that window unit. It looks like a big thumbprint in the fins of the, on the outside of the air conditioner." So I walked around there, and when I stuck my thumb in it, it was that much bigger. And it's just like something had took its hand, set it on top of the air conditioner, and then its thumb went down. Now, the window is 6 foot off the ground, which I'm 6 foot. So the bottom of the window is right about here. So the air conditioner is right on up in here.
Wow.
Yeah, they call that a choke point, where
Okay.
they can run them into a spot where there's hard for them to run at that point.
Bunch of stuff stacked up right
Yeah,
there.
that's pretty odd, isn't it?
Yeah, considering what we've,
So much in one.
there's a
spot.
lot of them from where we started. That arch is something. I think that might have to be a thumbnail right there.
That is a good one.
This was during the time period that the lights were getting turned off. She was hearing stuff hit the house. We were finding tracks around our pond, out in our field where I grow my watermelons and corn. We were finding gates going into our pasture open. She raised rabbits. We were finding the cage doors open. The rabbits not missing or anything, but cage doors open, and even our feed shed would be open at times, which was odd. And this was all during this time period.
It strangely kind of looks, is it over the top of this fallen tree? Trying to see, oh, it looks like this branch, look at that. This branch is tucked all the way under, it looks like. Oh, that's not it.
Yeah, I'll give you a shot of you for thumbnail. Right by the arch.
Yeah,
Ready? I'll get a shot of it.
yeah.
And then I finally got a glimpse of one of them late one evening.
At home.
Yeah, he was
Wow.
down in the wood line. It was in the fall. I was putting up my deer cameras in my feeder. And when I turned around, he was standing there in the wood line, and he went in behind a bunch of bushes real quick. And I got a pretty good look at him. He was about a 7.5, 8 footer.
Wow. Right next to you, there's a big, another tree with all the bark missing. That's once again going through the wise. You know what's kind of odd about that one is if you look up from there, it doesn't seem like it fell from, it's open above it. You see what I'm talking about, that one right there? If you were to think it fell that way.
Looks like the top of it there.
Yeah,
This looks like the bottom end. So where did it come from?
yeah.
Unless it came from, I don't know.
Possibly from all these
Yeah,
pieces.
this is maybe parts of it. I don't know. That is kind of odd.
That does seem
I always do like to try to figure out where it originated, where we're gonna
Yeah.
come from.
Does seem like a pattern, at least. Like big trees going through the wise.
No, that's not big enough. I mean, this looks like it came from that.
From
But
that,
how
possibly.
did it end up over here?
Oh, I see what you mean with the angle of it. Oh yeah, it almost does look like
It's
a
almost the
similar
same
break.
diameter, too.
Yeah. If that broke, went all the way over there,
Yeah,
that would be odd.
because it does look like it kind of matches up.
Like the break, right? Sort of. Huh. Yeah, there's another sort of bent tree right above it. Paul just noticed.
This is what I'm talking about, what he's doing right now.
Wasn't long after that, a neighbor through the woods, about a half a mile away, told another neighbor what they had saw one night. So they told me I needed to go talk to that neighbor. And how that neighbor found out about me was something was getting their chickens. Me and Rebecca went over to their property, found a big hole in the back of their coop, kind of up high, that was just as pretty as you could see, round. At first I thought maybe a coon had done it, but we ended up finding tracks out in front of their coop that were about 10 inches long and had toes and pretty good impression. So
Have a look at, closer look at all these trees down. Hey, doggy. How you doing?
but the lady that lived right next to them, within, I don't know, 100 yards of them, was out smoking one night about 10:30 at night, and she observed what she thought was a big dog come out of the woods. There's a street light over in the neighbor's yard, so there was enough light that she seen what she thought was a big dog. And she said a very big dog, and it was, of course, this was on all fours. And so when it come out, she started watching it, and she called to her. She said, hey Poochie, come here. Well, when she said that, this stood up on two legs, turned and looked at her.
Whoa.
And she said the face was real white looking and scared her half to death, of course. And she went in the house.
Couple little arches right here, looks like. One of those, this really young one. guess it's held down by this. Both these seem kind of old. This looks pretty young. There's 2 trees stacked in that.
And when I was over there interviewing her, the next door neighbor that had the street light in her yard come out, and I guess was wondering what was going on, come over there and introduced herself, and the lady had done told her about it too, and she went to talking to me about it, and she said, well, and come to find out, when this thing came out, it was heading toward that neighbor's house. And so I kind of started quizzing the next neighbor. I said, are you hearing anything? She said, well, what we've noticed, we're going through a lot of dog food lately. They kept their dog food on the front porch in a big tote. They had 2 dogs and they had a fenced in yard. And I said, was the dogs raising Cain at night or anything? She said, no, my dogs won't say a word. But they noticed they were going through a lot of dog food. And she said, I know the dogs ain't eating that much food. And I said, in other words, like something scooping it out of the tote. She said, yeah. I said, well, you need to put the tote up in the house. And I said, so that's why I figured the booger came out of the wood line, was heading to get dog food off that porch.
A lot of trees just right here.
And over the years, I've went and researched a lot of people's properties, talked to them. I mean, I don't know how many people I've talked to. And a lot of it I've put on my channel and told about it and even interviewed people. Then some people don't want their stories told.
Yep.
And they don't want to be on YouTube. But, I mean, I've been to some interesting properties. And I used to report all this to the AlabamaBigfoot.com, and they would put it on their website.
Okay.
They considered me one of their researchers for this central Alabama area.
You'd almost think if this much wind came through, it would take everything out. Could this possibly be handiwork, or is this just all natural fall? Doesn't look like anything sawed off. Maybe a whole bunch of trees around here just died from disease or something.
I don't see any green on them, so it looks like they've all been here a while.
Yeah, kind of old.
And anytime I went to a property, and if I found evidence of, whatever, I would take the report from the people if they were willing for me to turn it in. A lot of them wasn't willing. I just had to, keep, whatever they asked me to do. So I went and turned a lot of those in. So a lot of those are in there. But the thing is about AlabamaBigfoot.com now is when Mike passed away from cancer, his family shut down the website.
Okay.
And I had saved a lot of my stuff off there onto another computer. In 2013, I got a divorce. My ex-wife took the computer with her.
Ooh.
And when I asked about getting the stuff off there, she said there wasn't nothing on the computer. But at the time, Mr. Towle still had all that information. And he was going to send it to me, but in that meantime, he passed away. And I haven't been able to get in touch with his family.
Maybe it's natural. Maybe they all died in one spot. But I have heard what you said too about the having to do with, what'd you call it, like hunting or choke point. Right.
Some of it you can still find. You have to go in what they call the dark web to really get down in there to it. And you have to know the key words to put in to find it. A friend of mine's working on that now, trying to retrieve a lot of that stuff.
Okay.
And he's found some of it, so that's pretty cool. I'm glad he's found some of it.
Yeah.
You just have to know those key words to put in to get down in there to it. So I never have food around in the dark web, so I was kind of leery of doing that, but he kind of knows how to do it, and so he's been trying to retrieve some of that information that I wish now I had saved on something else, and you know, not let it get away from me.
Taking a look at these arches. There's that one right there, and a couple there. Pretty cool. You should come down here at night, huh?
But since then, I have used YouTube to do a lot of my stuff, and of course, I save my YouTube shows to to something. That way, if YouTube ever destroys it or something, I still got it.
Right.
Right. But yeah, I've been dealing with them since 2007 when I seen my first one. You know, down in Lowndes County, Alabama, which is east of Selma, Alabama. They're right there on the Alabama River. That's where I seen my first booger.
Another arch with a limb over it. Paul was just looking at this. Got this one leaning that way, another one leaning this way, and then this one. It's kind of odd that all three of those would land in there like that.
And of course, like I said, I've been an avid coon hunter, deer hunter all my life, and I've heard a lot of stuff, smelt things before, but always kind of, you know, some kind of animal and kept on going. But in 2007, January 2007, I guess you have say I had an awakening or a reality check.
What do you guys think? Is some of this handiwork? Is this maybe a squatchy area, or could all this be natural? We were definitely told by a local that it's a very active area for sure, but still having a look, trying to be objective. I know some people ask me to slow the camera down when I'm going around looking. Try to pause for a second every once in a while.
That's when I realized there was more in the woods than we'd been told. And of course, my curiosity went wild. I really started digging. And that's how I found Mike Mullane and them. I typed in Bigfoot sightings in Alabama on the internet, and of course, tons of information all of a sudden, you know, appeared, and I was like flabbergasted at what was going on.
One thing about doing a video like this is I think a lot of people that aren't able to get out enjoy being able to see it.
That's a good point.
From another person's viewpoint anyway.
Just what does it look like out in Alabama, in the areas where people say that there's Sasquatch around, or even just nature itself, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, some people just are disabled and not able to get out, but I'm sure they enjoy seeing this.
Right. Makes me want to appreciate being able to do this. One day I'm sure I won't be able to either.
Yeah.
And I ended up contacting them. They had a way you could contact them about your sightings. So I contacted him, and of course he contacted me right back by email, and we went to talking by email. Then he finally asked, could he call and talk to me? And I said, sure. And he called and talked to me. And then he asked, could another friend of his call and talk to me, which was the Mr. Banco. I said, sure. When he calls me, we get to talking. And to come to find out, he'd been researching there.
Down here. not really an X like you were looking at, but look at how these are intersected right there.
Back in the 90s, there was a hunting club down there, and there was a magazine that used to be published. It was called Alabama Game and Fish. I think each state had one. There was an article wrote by one of the magazine reporters about a guy who had some Bigfoot experiences there in that area. They published that article, I think it was in 93 when that got published. I won't say 93. It's called Stalked in Dallas County, Alabama Game and Fish.
This branch right here, where did it come from?
Oh yeah.
Where did it come from?
Huh. Right? Possibly this tree next to me. I don't know if it's thick enough. Nothing else though. It looks like
Yeah, there's nothing around.
would have just fallen and landed like that. And then right over, even just as I'm looking more at the stuff, there's that one going like that, but then for some reason this one went over. Then you have that one. See that? And you also have that one going that way.
Yeah. Right through that little tiny fork.
So you have 4 all kind of meet there, and then on the other end of it, that I think that makes it really strange.
It does.
How on the other end of it, there's another bunch of them all meeting.
Well, Mr. Tao ended up finding that boy that had seen all that, and went and talked to him himself, and found out that hunting club had been having all kind of experiences with boogers, been seeing them, and so it's really interesting. And then come find out he'd researched the area, talked to a lot of locals, and found out that area was real hotbed of activity. So he'd been doing a lot of research there. So when I called in and said, hey, this is what I seen in Lowndes County, that perked their interest real quick.
You try to look at it and try to figure out, well, which one fell first.
Right.
Well, I mean, you can see one on top of the other.
And so from then and there, I got to be friends with them, talking to them a lot. Then that's when he came up and visited and told me about this place. He'd done been here. That's what was wild about it. He'd done been in my area before and knew what was here. He just didn't tell me about that till it got up here. I guess he's wanting to make sure I was legit, which I understand, you know.
Okay, so that broke and it fell, and somehow it hooked that one, which doesn't seem to be in the line of where it was headed, but you see that's what holds it up. So that fell up that way, and it somehow hooked that one going this way. You know what I'm saying? The one that's kind of broken down there.
Yeah.
So that landed, and it went through the Y up there, and then that one somehow just is leaning up there. That one going this way is underneath that, and this one here, for some reason, just decides to bend over that way, and they all meet up there. And then this one without the bark just decides to break like a long time ago.
Yeah, this one looks like the oldest, and it's the one on top.
It's the one on top of all that.
Yeah, that's what I thought was interesting too. The other one looks like it's been laying for a long time compared to the others.
And then we ended up carrying him up on our hunting club, which is not the real name of it ain't Creepy Mountain, of course, but only reason we called it Creepy Mountain was because it is a creepy place at night time. And but he ended up going with us up there one night, and he made some calls with his elk call. He said elk call, we usually get them to respond real good. The male, bugle of the male. He blew that thing, and as soon as he did, we got 3 responses back, just bam, 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 like that.
Wow.
And he turned around, looked at me and my friend Keith, and he said, "Y'all got them here."
That definitely seems strange when you sort of piece it together. Even one thing just like that one that broke down there. You know what else is maybe the strangest of all of it, if I'm seeing this correctly? Because I'm just staring now. Look at this meeting point. Look where this one meets right on that perfectly. This thing like broke off, and to hold this up, if this one falling down wasn't an anomaly already to catch that one kind of, it's sort of out of the way. And we got this cool dog here.
And that's when me and Keith started researching up there. We started feeding them. We started off with different little things, but we found out peanut butter in a jar nailed up about 8 foot on the side of the tree was the best way, because that eliminated deer, a lot of other animals. And we pretty much figured it was them taking it, because we would use a gutter nail, which is 10 inches long. I would drive that gutter nail all the way through that peanut butter jar with the lid still on. We'd nail it into the tree, and then we'd leave it a few days. We'd come back, most of the time they'd be gone. Most of the time the gutter nail with it. So I drove a gutter nail up in the tree to see if I could pull the gutter nail out, and no, I couldn't.
Really?
And this wouldn't be watered either. It wouldn't be like we're us humans, you know, we have to water it out, you know what I'm saying, going back and forth. This looked like whatever it had the strength enough to just pull it, because the hole would be still a neat little hole. I don't know of any animal in these parts that could grab it like that and just snatch it out. You know, I know some people say, well, bear could. Yeah, possibly, but we wouldn't never hardly find the peanut butter jars or the lids. And only one time I found one gutter nail, and it was about 10 foot away from the tree when I found it.
I feel like this really doesn't make sense at all for natural.
Yep, because like I said, that one on top looks like it's been there forever.
Yeah.
And this is the one on top.
Right. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff just around. I mean, there's that stick leaning right there. And then, of course, this side of it, which is also just like when you look at this one, right?
Yeah.
Just like that one, it's kind of out of the way of this. If that just broke straight down, that one was over that way. So it wouldn't have made, it would have fallen on this side of this tree. It's on this side of it. So not only that, but then up here, you have the same kind of thing going, where this one decides to just bend, and it almost looks like it's partly underneath that. It's not really under it, it's just against it, but still. And then that.
And me and Keith would go up there and we would make circles, getting further and further out. We would never find the peanut butter jars. We left them cookies. They loved Oreo cookies for some reason. They would wipe the Oreos out real quick. Peanut butter jelly sandwiches in the Ziploc bag. Crackers. We tried to do some deer meat, and they wouldn't touch the deer meat. I don't know if because the deer meat had been in a freezer and then it thawed out, and they didn't like that smell, but they wouldn't touch it. But now if we harvested deer and we went and put the guts out, or the remainder, they would snatch those. So I don't know what the deal was. Maybe the freezer smell. I don't know. We'll never really know the answer to that. But
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I feel like this one's stuck in the ground. Yep. So that's cool. I'm glad you told me to come down and look.
we would make calls. One one time, Keith, and I try to always give him credit on this because he's the one that come up with it, or come up using it. He made a device that we call a bull drum. And all it is a coffee can, a metal or plastic one, and you knock a hole in it, put a string on it, and then you wet that string and you pull it, and it makes this god-awful racket. I mean, it sounds like a lion roaring. And people's had them for years. I think people used them way back yonder. It's just something they'd made to play with. And he'd been wanting to try that out up there. And so he gets it out of the back of the truck. And the only reason we had done this was we had been coon hunting. And we were in a big holler on the club. And we were getting these, I call it an owl call, but it wasn't a real owl call. You could tell. Well, one of the owls started off like an owl, and then he got to coughing. I mean, he started off just as pretty, then he got to coughing. And we knew then that wasn't an owl, you know.
You know, to be honest, I don't usually take the time to really try to logically break something down. Even this, it's like a perfect triangle right here. How tight these are around it.
It just seems like you were saying that. How did that long branch at your shoulder fall on this side of that little tree?
Yeah.
Instead of on the other side of it.
So on that one, and then so it fell.
Because that little tree is leaning this way.
Yeah.
So I don't see how it fell on this side of it.
Our dogs were acting funny, so we loaded the dogs up and we drove about a half a mile away and got up on this top of this big hill because we run into another 2 hunting club members that was up there that night just riding around. And one of them had seen boogers before, and we was sitting there talking, and we were telling him about what we just experienced down there in that holler. And that's when the Keith said, well, I'm gonna try this drum bull while we're here, since we know that was probably them close by. And when he pulled that drum bull and made that racket, we got back what we call the T-Rex roar.
Wow.
I'm talking about it was, and you know, you could feel it hit you in the chest. And this was a half a mile away, you know, and you could feel I mean, and of course all of us perked up. I mean, we didn't know what to do for a minute. We didn't know to jump in the truck and leave. And we ended up staying there, and nothing ever happened. But it just done it that one time. And I've only heard that twice in my lifetime, and the other time was on a friend's property not far from here, maybe about 6 miles from here.
I mean, if you think about it.
And then it's perfectly on that right there.
Look how long that branch is, right there at your shoulder. It's
Yeah.
a long, long branch. And
Yeah.
for it to fall on that side of that small tree, you think that the tip of it would be pointed toward me. It wouldn't be pointed that way.
Which one?
You see what I'm saying? This long,
This one? Yeah,
for it
yeah.
to fall on this side of that small tree.
Of that small tree.
Of that small tree, the only way you'd think it could fall on that side, the tip would
Yeah.
actually pointed this way.
Yeah, it would like go like this way.
Yeah, be pointed
Yeah.
toward me.
Yeah, that's a good point. Really good. And I mean, standing right next to me here, somehow this one got tucked in.
He started finding footprints and some other stuff going on his property. And we happened to go down there one night, and we were trying to make some calls, and there was a T-Rex roar came out from in there, off a big creek in there. He was a good piece away, maybe a mile away, probably easy. And that let out what I called a T-Rex roar. And of course we didn't catch it on recording or anything like that. But I mean, that's the only 2 times I've actually heard that type of sound. And it's something I'll never forget.
I mean, you could almost argue possibly the force of this, because it's kind of decent sized. I mean, certainly if it did perfectly hit all these things, it might, I mean, all I was gonna say was you would wonder if it might break that stuff up top instead of just stop there. But I don't know. I kind of looking at this for a little bit, and I think there's no way that these things just fell like this.
The odds of that landing on that little tiny ledge right there.
I know.
That's pretty wild.
And it's broken to accommodate. It looks like, is that the same bark right? No, that's not the, because that piece looks like it was broken off. So
Yeah.
this would just sit on it.
We've heard speech, or what we think is speech.
Wow.
My friend Keith recorded some speech. I have another friend that was real strong in researching. I'm not going to say his name, but he backed off of it because he started feeling like it was demonic. Of course, that's his opinion, and I respect his opinion. He felt like he needed to get away from it.
Yeah.
But he done a lot of audio. You would love to talk to him. He that was his thing, was audio. In fact, that's why his degree is in from college.
No way. Wow.
He had some of the best audio I heard from that time period. Of course, now I've heard some that's equal with it. But he got speech, a lot of howls, a lot of what we call wood knocks that sometimes I think that's really not wood, but something else. The thumping. We've even heard what we thought was English words.
Wow. Look at everything else around. If somebody did do handiwork with all this, kind of wonder about these trees over here. Is there anything else going on with that? Cool find though.
Yeah.
For sure.
One night I pulled up, he was already on the hunting club. I pulled up. He, as I get out, he's already got recorders running. And me and him sitting there talking. Next day he calls me. He said, "Hey, you gonna find this crazy?" But he said something called your name out.
Wow.
And you pulled up. And I said, "Wow." And I listened to it, and it did. It went, "Marco," just like that, "Marco."
Wow.
About the time I got out of the truck and slammed the door. So that's when he told me, he said, "Them suckers know you by name up there." That's what they ought to, much as I've been up there messing with them. But
Wow.
if that's what that was, you know, it could have been paranormal too. But
We were sitting here looking at it like, if it did happen naturally, which I think there's no way. But when you just said that, I just looked and realized, so that broke off that, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So somehow it lands all the way over there and gets caught in those little trees, and then it's threaded through. It's on this side of that one, and then it's on that side of that one, and then it goes between those two down there. But just when you said it and I looked, I realized that's so weird that this broke off and just landed in that stuff.
Yeah, it is like threaded through there in between really narrow spots. Let me get under.
Yeah.
Right here we can see it.
This is like really cool when we take a good look at it all.
It's threading the needle right there where it fell.
That's freaking odd. If you're gonna try to just explain this one, because of the direction that it's at, you'd think it would have fallen right along this line, but somehow it jumped over about 3 feet.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense how it fell from that tree.
How did it
But
get
ended on the right side of this tree.
into the, like, that doesn't make sense at all. And that happened, it's rotted enough where I don't even think these were alive when that broke. It's like something picked it up and put it in there carefully to not break that stuff. It's not even all the way down. That is odd.
But I've been on a lot of outings. I've been all over Alabama. Been in Tennessee in a couple places, Mississippi, Florida, Kentucky, Arkansas, North Carolina. So I've been to a good many places. Just about every place I've went, there's been something happened. You know, some type of activity was going on. Either we heard vocals or seen stuff or smelt stuff.
I just went down that huge tangent about all this, how really odd it all seems. We actually were starting on with that branch, And Paul was mainly just saying there's not something that it looks like it clearly fell from directly up.
Unless it's the top of that tree.
That one way up there.
Where it snapped.
Yeah.
Possibly.
It would have had to come way down. It actually doesn't look like the same bark. If you look at the bark from that and then that,
Yeah, you're right.
that's sort of like a blocky, thicker.
Yeah, you're right. It does look different.
It's definitely not something. Wait, so the bark, now that we're just doing this, the bark on that, what does it match? That tree there, maybe. See that one right there?
Yeah.
I think it's about like those two trees there. So it would have had to fall in
I don't see anywhere
towards us from there and then land sideways and then get threaded through.
So I've been around a little bit, of course, wanting to try out some new places. Hopefully going to Virginia this fall in Maryland to look at some places. I'm hoping.
West Virginia, I feel like that has to be interesting there.
Yeah, I've been right there at West Virginia. Of course, my kids are in Ohio, and I go up and see them a lot. And that's one thing I liked about meeting Paul is he's from Ohio, and I've got a bunch of friends in chat that I call my family, what I call them, because they've been in our chats so long. We do a live on Friday nights.
Okay.
At 7 p.m. Central, which most time we don't really get into Bigfoot on our lives, because my wife, we do a lot of homesteading too, so we try to tend to do our Friday night lives more toward homesteading. But I do videos and release them, interviews with people, go over their sightings, or I'll go somewhere when there's something going on, or if I find something, I'll usually do a video on it and show people and let them make up their minds what they think you're seeing. I've been doing that now a little over 2.5 years.
Hopefully you guys watching this can see what we're seeing. I don't really feel like I need to prove this stuff to this extent, but I just started really looking at it while talking and filming, and more, even as we're sitting here talking off camera, there's sort of a little boomerang piece that's just hung up there for no reason. It's kind of balanced up there, going across.
That was how it threaded the needle when this one fell down through.
With the
Right, this one, how it.
Yeah, that. I mean,
How it went in between
angle.
these trees all the way down.
Oh yeah. This one that definitely broke off this stump, and it has no bark left for some reason. But yeah, it just went through those without smashing them. They're still up, and it just kind of goes right down in between all these. Like, that's odd.
I think I've caught some decent stuff, especially there at my house in the corn patch a few years ago.
Oh,
and I've done a video about it.
You showed me some of that.
Yeah, so, and that was another person that watches my channel that has a lot of activity with her. And I'm gonna give her credit, Miss Bama and Miss Blue-Eyed. Miss Blue-Eyed caught some of it too. Both of them caught these figures in my corn patch, and several other people mentioned it too. When I went back and reviewed the video, I was just out there videoing my watermelon patch and just talking. I do a lot of rambling, and I was just talking and never knew that afternoon that I had 5 or 6 boogers or whatever they were in my corn patch standing there watching me.
Just a little ways away. Just noticing these couple little arches here. There's that one and this one. And there's this kind of asterisk right between them. That is kind of like an asterisk there, huh?
Yeah.
If you were to just really look at things as odd to fall the way they do, it's sort of geometric. I'm thinking some people would point out it looks kind of like a trident. I don't really get too much into the tridents and stuff, but I've heard about it, so not close to it either.
You know, but when you go back and watch the video and you slow it down, you got to slow it down in that section. Because I use an Android phone to do my filming with. And when I pan, they're right there. I mean, they're 20, 30 foot from me. And maybe a little further, maybe 40, I don't know. But you can see them sitting there looking at me, you know, just as pretty.
Wow.
And I never knew they were there. I mean, and even my little dog was out there with me, and she never acted like she knew something was there. Even though she went back to the house after a few minutes, she may have finally realized it and went back up there with my wife. But that was late one evening in August. I mean, it was about 6:30 in the evening. I mean, my house 100 yards away, and I'm just right there walking, looking at my watermelons and talking, you know, doing a video, and just, you know, scanning around, and never thought in the world I'd have something sitting there, you know, in that corn patch.
What caused this, but I've found a lot of these just really white. I think they're maybe quartz. This was just sitting, it's been there for a little bit, but kind of just sitting here like this on top. Seen a lot of them out here. Not sure what would cause rocks like this to just be on top of all the leaves and stuff. And it's really white. I think if I rinsed it off, it would be just about pretty close to white. It has a little sort of orangish pink marbling. It's pretty.
And I've had a lot of people look at it. You know, most people say, hey, that's what you got. Some people say, I'm looking at the other side of the veil. In other words,
oh wow,
we're looking at some people say it's shadows. You know, and I'm going like, I don't know what it is, but I sure can see faces in it. So, and I don't think it's the paranoia either. I think they were there because you can actually see in parts look like bodies, you know.
Okay.
And some of the pictures are zoomed in because when we went and some of the people picked out the areas, so it's zoomed in, so it makes it look cloudy around it. But when you look at the real footage and you slow it down to about 25, and as I'm scanning, you can see, I mean, you see stuff just standing there looking at me, you know.
Wow. There's a few more of the rocks. It sort of looks like a possible game trail / water runoff. And there's just a couple right here. They're so clean. It just doesn't even, there's not like big rocks where they break off from. Here's another one there. It's actually next to a different rock, but seems odd they just be placed. They're not placed. It just seems odd they'd be here. Maybe they were placed because it's not really a rocky area.
I mean, I never knew they was there, didn't hear a sound, didn't get no feeling something was watching me. Because I've had that happen a lot of times, get a feeling something's around, and I go looking, and sometimes I catch a glimpse of something. But this time, I didn't feel nothing. I mean, it was weird. And even my wife, who can feel stuff, and knows she's not a medium or none of that, she just can feel when something's around. You know, she was up there in the yard, and she said, I asked her, you know, after we done, you know, after I found out they were in the video, and I went to talking to her about it, I said, did you feel anything? She said, I ain't feel nothing. So, I mean, it's weird. That's why some people think I was looking through a veil. You know, maybe I hit a spot. I mean, I don't know.
I've heard of that.
You know, so I can't prove it. I mean, none of this stuff I can really prove.
Right.
All I can do is say, hey, here's footprints. You make up your mind. That's what this is. Hey, here's stuff in the corn patch. You make your mind up what it is. I'm not going to sit here and say, yes, boogers and dog men. And I mean, I'm going to say that's what it looks like. But in my opinion, that's what it looks like. But in the audios, when I hear them, I try to be open-minded. And
Right there too, there's a broken tree in the background, but I was just coming to have a look at this. Kind of looks like an X from down below. Straight through behind it in the woods is where we were just looking at those other ones. Ask you, so my battery died. What I was gonna ask and we'll just wrap it up, I guess, is if you remember the video you were referring to where there were screen captures in your corn,
Yes.
and then I'll put it below this one.
Okay.
And then I guess we'll wrap up, and I think you're doing a live that I'll probably possibly be with you tonight, and
Yeah, if everything goes good.
and yeah, if anything, we were talking about something to do with audio, but I don't know if you might not remember what
We
were
were
saying.
talking a little bit about my friend that used to be big in audio that
Oh yeah.
felt like these things were demonic, and he decided that the best thing for him to do was to back out of it. And of course, I respect his feelings on that, because if that's the way somebody feels. All of us in the Bigfoot community, is, if you call it a community or whatever, or family or whatever we call it, which I consider most everybody that comes to our chat and our lives family. I've met a lot of them, but one thing we all need to do is respect each other, how we feel about these things. Not everybody has good feelings about them. Some people do. Some people say they're befriended by them, and I'm not going to say they're not. I've been real fortunate not to have ones that were belligerent with me. I mean, I've never been charged that I know of. I've been what I thought was growled at or something. But I think we need to respect everybody's opinions on this, even if you don't agree. Still respect each people, because it's like anything else. We all have opinions, and we're all seeking the same answer to what these are, and there's just different avenues what they could be.
All right, I just set up a recorder, and I'm just on the way out and thought it looks pretty cool up there with the sun setting and the ridge. Figured I'd get a little footage of that. Still out here in the same spot I've been in for a few days in Alabama. Looks like a bit of rain coming, some severe, possibly severe weather. Not sure where I'm gonna go next, if I'm gonna try to stay here and ride it out or what. Nice creek down there. Put the recorder sort of near the creek, not too close in case there's a bunch of frogs. That'll drown out the sounds. It's pretty cool though out here. It's definitely hill country out here, even though it's pretty flat right here.
And biggest thing, love one another like Christ commands. So,
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed meeting you. Like I said, I've watched a few of your videos, and I really liked them. I'm probably like you. I wish I could watch everybody's, but it's hard to get to everybody's.
It is.
So I do stick with a little core group that I consider a family. Not saying, there's Woodwalkers, Miss V at Muddy Creek, there's, Old Line Cryptids, a lot of folks that I consider friends, and Squatch and Holler and some of those. But it's always great to meet new people like you and, Paul. And that just gives us more people to contact with and get together with and bounce ideas off each other and share each other's experiences, what we've had happen to each other.
There's that arch out there. Kind of way back there. Trying to get a spot where I can see without the branches in front of me here. But it's back there. You can see it there.
And other people's experiences, and so I think it's great. I'm glad I got to meet you this week. I mean, it was a bonus that another Bigfooter pops up, so.
Yeah, I was excited when I heard you were gonna be here when I talked to Paul.
But I'm glad you got to enjoy Alabama. I know you ain't had much happen this week, but I mean, it's been a great week for camping. I wish I'd been
Yeah.
off enough this week to camp. Told my wife last night, I said, boy, it'd been perfect to been off this whole week because it's just been a beautiful week.
Yeah.
And why you didn't have a lot of activity this week, I can't answer that. I mean, you might come next week and the place be wild. I don't
Right.
know. You know, you roll that dice every time you go somewhere.
Yeah.
You know. So,
It's fun either way.
yeah, but what I'll do is after we get off here, I'll go scroll and find that
Okay.
video real quick, and then I can and then send it to you or something.
I'll
Through
probably
your phone.
just throw the title up on the screen like right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right. Well, I've enjoyed it, man, and if me and Rebecca, if I see where Rebecca feels like it, me and her may come back tonight, and we may do our live from here. If not, me and her still may show up a little while later and sit with you an hour or so and just see if anything's going on. Or you welcome to come to the house too.
Very cool. Thank you.
Very welcome to come up there. So
It's great meeting you as well.
you too.
It's awesome.
People can check us out at Cedar Creek Bottoms Farm Site. Farms. Can't even talk. Farmstead Life. I do a few videos here and there, and then we have a live every Friday night. Like I said, our lives are more about homesteading than they are Bigfoot. I usually try to separate both of them a little bit,
Yeah.
but I do put videos out when I find stuff, and there'll be one coming out next week about the footprints I found out there by our rabbit barn, and showing some other things. It may have been them, may have not been them. I can't say.
Okay. Awesome.
But I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate you and Paul being on my live other night. And
Yeah, that was
Lord,
fun.
there we had some of the common people together. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's cool.
Might be
that's cool.
going to meet one of them soon.
That's it.
That's so cool.
Good group of people.
Yeah.
Good group of people.
Well, thank you. Whoop, thank you very much.
All right, sounds good, man.
All right. Anything last words?
Just respect each other and get along and be kind and get out in the woods and look around, because that's where you find stuff, and be open-minded about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Martin.
Been a lightning bug I saw.
I'll do this so it's not going in your eyes, but we're gonna try a shofar over here. Back up so it doesn't distort the volume too much.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's an amazing sound. So I'm out here with Mark in one of his spots, and we had a few things happen today actually out here earlier, and we've been sitting out here in the dark for a while with no lights, just listening and talking, having a great time actually. I interviewed him today, and then I watched your Flash of Beauty interview. That was doubleheader. That was cool.
Yeah, me and Adam, that was a good one. Yeah, I got to finish watching it. And of course, then me and my wife had our live at 7 at the house, and but yeah, me and you heard two very distinct, deliberate. I call it deliberate wood knocks today. One from each side of us, probably 100 yards from us, say maybe.
Yeah.
And one happened 5 minutes later, the other one on the opposite side of us, and I mean you could tell it was very deliberate. And sorry about that. But that was very interesting. Paul been gone 20 minutes or so, 30.
Yeah.
And then tonight we've been sitting here. I guess I've been here probably an hour and a half now.
Yeah.
Maybe that long. And we've heard some weird sounds. We've been hearing stuff moving around in the woods, which I mean could be anything, but we've heard a few something way off that just can't really tell what it is. And but earlier we heard another something like a piece of wood. Um, it was kind of weird. And then we had some kind of call a while ago right here on top of us, but I don't really know what it was.
Yeah, almost reminded me of like a whistle, but
Yeah, it was strange. I don't know. It could be some kind of bird, but it was just a weird sound that I hadn't heard before. And of course, there's stuff going on around us all over. I mean, I hear go for coats.
right on cue. Howls in the distance.
Yeah.
I'm noticing it's actually pretty quiet right now too out here.
Yeah, it is. I was waiting.
Mm.
Waiting to see if there's going to be something else with it.
That's reading my mind.
But yeah, there's been some strange sounds down here tonight. A few times we felt like something was right here with us too. Which I've been looking with the thermal. There was a heat signature right over here a while ago, and it's not there no more. But it was small, whatever it was. It could have been. It could have been some kind of animal or something, but I don't know what it was.
I definitely have that vibe a little bit right now.
Yeah.
We also
Well,
heard,
I definitely think he's something here somewhere watching us.
yeah.
But I'm not catching it on the thermal. It's either hid real good or laying flat on the ground or something. Because I've scanned the whole area several times.
Just hear that?
Yeah, I keep hearing stuff. I don't know if...
Something just like fell right kind of where I'm facing right now.
Yeah.
There was one a few minutes ago where it really just sounded like a rock hitting the ground.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it was a good thump sound.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that was. Let me put this on vibrate a minute because it's going to go off again if I don't. I use the train because a lot of people, I know it is my phone because not many people got the train sound. So I don't know who's texting me this time of night. Somebody knows I'm still up.
You just had that Flash of Beauty interview, so some people probably watched it.
Yeah. But in fact, that's Adam. I'll check it out in a minute. But
That was Adam from...
yeah, from the video.
Cool.
So I think he knows I'm down here. But,
Okay.
There's been some strange sounds going on in here, definitely.
Agreed.
That's not usual sounds. But it's like I've told y'all, the stuff down here most of the time is subtle. It's not real dramatic.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is the vocals don't never really happen right on top of you much. They're always a little piece off from you.
Mm.
Now the rock throwing and which them wood knocks today were close to us.
Yeah.
I mean, they were very close. One of them was actually, it was right down in there,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the other one was right back over yonder. So
Yeah.
they were close. But those were deliberate. There wasn't no wind. It was still.
Mm.
And it was a whop. I mean, loud whop.
Crisp. Yeah.
And the other one was just like it. I mean, they were both just very good, pops.
Mm-hmm.
And that ain't natural going on in the woods like that, I mean,
Right.
I know the woods makes racket. There's no doubt about it. But
Mm-hmm.
that was deliberately to be 5 minutes apart.
That was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't heard nothing like that in a while. That was pretty cool. Yeah, a lot of different sounds in here tonight. Like I said, some of them you don't know what they are.
It's been a good night. I like nights like this.
Yeah, I do too.
Definitely more questions than answers, but it's something interesting.
It is, and I mean, we won't have the answers for all of it, and probably never will, but for a lot of the stuff we hear. But there's definitely something here with us somewhere. Where we're at, I don't know. But I just feel like there's something watching us.
Me too.
Where? I just don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
And if my wife was here, she might could pinpoint it for us. But
Mm. You can almost hear the silence right now.
it's quiet. All those vocals back in yonder's kind of quit, whatever it was.
Mm.
Earlier back in that creek bottom, there was a lot going on, but I could never tell what we were hearing. I just could hear stuff.
Heard that. Pretty faint, like a tap or a twig or something.
Well, time will tell.
Hearing a
By the
movement.
time you get to sleep good tonight, something will take place, probably. That's about the way it usually goes. By the time you get laid down good and comfortable, there'll be a racket take place.
Hope so. Careful
Well,
what you wish for, right?
They walk up in this camp at night when people's asleep. I mean, we pretty much know that's happening because,
Wow.
you know, the one guy getting his tent unzipped down here one night,
That's crazy.
and then I heard foot stomps or foot, you know, something walking by at 4:30 in the morning, and it started back up in here and went all the way down yonder at the end by people's tents. And when we went to asking the next morning, everybody said, "No, wasn't nobody up." You know, at 4:30 in the morning, and I'm pretty sure one just walked right through here.
Wow.
And then there's other people heard stuff walking around their campers and tents at night down here. So you may get to experience that.
There's some kind of sound out there.
Yeah.
Not very definitive, but
Yeah, there was something from in yonder.
it's so calm, though. Well, I guess we'll leave it at that, and it's kind of cool taking anyone watching this out with us. Wanted to kind of capture a little of this night.
Yeah.
Been a fun day.
Oh yeah, I mean we've heard some stuff today.
Yeah.
I know y'all heard some different stuff during the week, and that's all. That's the only way you're gonna find out something to go camp, go stay in the woods, or go hang out somewhere for a while, and really just sit back and listen. And I mean, I hate to say it, you ain't gonna learn it from home. Sitting on the couch watching TV.
Right.
You know? I know some people ain't able to get out in the woods no more. I know that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying, if you really want to experience, you got to go do stuff like this. And sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you have sometimes you'll go 7, 8 times, won't nothing happen. That one night you go, bam, there it is, you know.
Worth it.
It is. I mean, you know, I don't know how many times me and my partner Keith went up on Creepy Mountain and nothing happened. I mean, nothing. Quiet as, you know, just quiet like this. No sounds, no nothing. 7, 8 times, 10 times. Go back one night and man, be getting vocals and
Wow.
rocks thrown. And I mean, it's just, you know, you never knowed, you know, and you would never, you're never ready for it neither. I mean, what I'm saying, it happens all of a sudden. And it's weird how it does it, you know. But I'm gonna tell you this: of all the times I've been here, that's camping or just riding down here, 9 times out of 10, something strange is gonna happen while I'm here. And today, it did. You know, I mean, I came a couple other times during the week. Not much went on, but you know. What's that rumbling noise? You hear that?
Yeah. Real faint.
Now, I'll tell you something that happens down here, and I don't know if it's happened with y'all or not, is the flashes of light down here at night. It's like somebody walking around with a camera taking pictures.
Really?
And sometimes it'll happen. There's a bunch of people that experienced it here. It's just like something's taking pictures. I don't know, it's weird.
I've actually seen that somewhere once.
Also, these orbs down here at times. Little bitty ones, you'll see them floating around. And good friend of mine caught something on camera. He's just taking pictures. He wasn't even trying to focus on anything. He was trying out a camera. And he caught this green looking thing up in the air at night time. It was crazy looking. We showed it on one of our lives. We had him on. I don't know, it was back last year. That was a freaky looking thing. I don't know what that was. So there's a lot of high strangeness here.
Yeah, you were kidding.
A lot of high strangeness.
That's cool.
Here. Place full of quartz too. There's little bits of quartz all in here. You get up there on the side of the mountain, there's some up there big as a car. And
Wow.
That's how big a chunk of quartz sits up there. And
Been hoping that maybe we'll hear something while you're talking.
yeah, that's what I was hoping by me continuing talking.
Yeah, yeah.
They think we wasn't paying no attention and something would go on. Oh well, you ain't gonna fool them most times.
No.
But it has got definitely quiet, hasn't it? Quieter than it was earlier.
Like nothing at all.
Right now.
Yeah.
That might mean something's getting closer to us.
Mm-hmm. No bugs.
I mean, it has just shut off.
Makes your ears ring.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll stop this so I can give my arm a rest, and we'll get back to listening a little bit and see if anything happens.
I enjoyed it.
Well, thanks for sharing again.
Oh yeah. Anytime you want to talk about stuff, let me know. Sooner or later, we'll get a chance. I'll get you on one night, and
Definitely.
we'll go down. We'll do some deep diving.
I'm down.
Everything.
Awesome.
All right. I appreciate it, Martin.
Yeah, thank you. And we are leaving Alabama, and now the next stop that I'm planning on is Louisiana with some people that I've met partly through Mark out here in Alabama.